What up, guys? Your boy Quake back with a brand new episode of the Diverse Mentality Podcast, number 387. I hope you guys are doing amazing, have an amazing day, night, whenever you're listening to this. I don't know why would you listen to a podcast really late at night, but God bless your soul if you're doing so. Regardless, it's a great thing. I want to kind of fly this idea by you guys. Let me know what you guys think about this, because this is something I've been thinking about for roughly 2 to 3 weeks now, just looking at statistics and numbers, and really the full episodes of the podcast don't really bring in that much views. Has it gone up as the years gone on? Of course, it slowly has been growing, but the main bulk of the views and the revenue comes from clips that we do. Now I've been recording them a lot more quickly, like as news comes out. So what I've been thinking, this kind of will free up my schedule a little bit, and it would make more sense for the podcast. Let me know what you guys think of it. Basically what I'm thinking is to have one episode a week instead of 2 episodes a week. And the reason why I'm thinking that is because now I'm recording the episodes, like the clips of the news, like as they're happening. As you can see on the main Diverse Mentality channel, I collab with a podcast channel, but that's basically a podcast clip, because when you click on that clip, what does pop up in front of it? Diverse Mentality Podcast. It's not like part of the channel, the main channel, but it is uploaded on the main channel and collaborated with the podcast, because it is podcast content, because it appears on the full episode later on. So with that being said, I was thinking just to have one episode a week and have that whole last week of news that happened from the last episode. So basically, let's just say Monday is when I drop a new episode. From the previous Monday, that whole week that happened, the news that happened, it goes on that full episode. So the episode would probably be 2 hours long, maybe even 2 hours and 30 minutes long. I don't know. But I think having 2 episodes a week, I did that a while ago just because I wanted to get quicker on the news topics, right? If I was doing, because the podcast originally started with 1 episode a week, and then it grew to 2 episodes a week. And the reason why I did 2 episodes a week is because of that reason, to have more news more consistently come out. But as the years have gone on, I've noticed that the full episodes don't really bring in a lot of views. I mean, you can go on the YouTube channel. We're lucky if we crack 1,000 views on the full episodes. The clips, though, they'll do, some of them have done 50,000, 100,000, 70,000. You go on TikTok, the clips are doing, just one, the J. Cole one I uploaded, did over 120,000 views on TikTok. The 50 Cent, Jeffrey Epstein with Jay-Z and Pusha T, all that stuff, that did 20, 30, 40,000. Snapchat, we did one clip, 200-something thousand views on Snapchat. Facebook, same type of thing. So like the clips are bringing in the money, the views, the revenue. It just makes more sense. The full episodes aren't really doing much. And I know there's an audience for that, and I know some people just listen to the full episodes. They don't really care for the clips, but I'm thinking just to do 1 full episode a week. It clears up a little bit of my schedule where I don't have to record 2 episodes that week. I can just take whatever I did in terms of news that week and just compile it into 1 episode. And yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Let me know what you guys think about it, to run that idea through you guys. Message me on social media, tweet at me, wherever you can contact me. Just reach out to me, be like, hey, I think it's a good idea. Hey, I like the 2 episode structure. And I will see what to do moving forward, because the podcast is a huge asset when it comes to the news. And there's a lot of things I can clip and post, and it's a great asset in that aspect. But other than that, it's really just me carrying the show, and I don't have special guests on here. Like originally, that's what the podcast was going to be, but it was hard to get people to come to Atlanta and sit down and do interviews. Like I would have to always go to them. That's the only way I got the DT and Young Buck interviews, because I went to them. It's the only way I got the Hot Rod interviews, because I went to him. It would have cost me, well, first, some artists like Buck, he had legal issues, so he couldn't come to me regardless. It was like 4 or 5 years of waiting. And then some artists have schedules. Some artists, they're like, hey, you got to pay for my flight to go over there, all this. So it just costs a lot more money. And so there's, of course, now, as you guys know, 3 sections of Diverse Mentality. There's the podcast, which mainly carries the news with some segments of my opinion on things like my album rankings, whatever, whatever I'm rambling on about. Then there's the artist interviews, which is its own new section that I just recently started, as you guys know, which I'm going to have a few more new episodes coming out pretty soon of that. And then I have the documentaries, which I haven't delivered in a long time, which I'm starting to gear up to drop some pretty soon here. I'm actually working on a major one that's going to, I believe, be probably 3 hours long, something like that. So that's going to come out in the foreseeable future, but I have some mini documentaries coming out very soon, one this month and all that, especially for Patreon people that support me on there. Appreciate you guys. So that's the kind of structure, Diverse Mentality, where the podcast handles the news. I do some artist interviews here and there. And then I have the documentaries that I normally do, which I've been doing the longest. Documentaries have been the longest, then the podcast, then the artist interviews. So that's my kind of takeaway from it. At least with that, I'd have at least one free, not really a free day, because technically every day I'll be recording some type of news, but it won't be these full episodes where I'll have to go over each news article and each, I'll be able to record a quick news segment, 15, 20 minutes, edit it, put it out. And then if something happens again that day, that news, I'll record again. But the full episode, I won't really have to, record. I'll have to record this intro, and I'll probably have to record the outro. That's really about it. So which I'm actually leaning towards the one episode schedule, is just way easier to maintain, and it makes more sense. Me going that route, what day would you guys like the episode to be released on? That's my question to you guys. If I end up going that route, which is leaning more towards that route, what day would you guys prefer? To me, it doesn't matter. I'm willing to do any day. It doesn't matter to me, man. We usually record episodes on Sundays and Wednesdays, and they get released Mondays and Thursdays. So, let me know what you guys think. I think maybe Wednesday night and have them release every Thursday a new episode, maybe, or do Wednesday or Monday or do Tuesday. I don't know. Just let me know if that's the route I'm leaning towards. It just makes more sense in terms of how much production we're getting out of each, and it clears up a lot more room to do other things. And it just, because the podcast, it has its success in its own way, but I imagine like the full episodes would get a lot more views. The full episodes would grow. More people would watch them just as time went on. But it's usually the same people showing up, which I love you guys, especially the guy that always talks about how many times I mentioned 50 Cent, and he always talks about taking shots to Ciroc. So shout out to you. But there's a core fan base that watches it every time, but it's just not enough, is what I'm saying. So that's the route I'm leaning towards. I might end up switching that schedule in March or maybe even April. It's not going to be this February unless like something comes up, but I will be having to travel February and March quite a bit. And then Ramadan's coming up, and I have to, fast. And usually when I fast, I flip my whole schedule because, when you're fasting, you can't eat or drink until from daylight till nighttime. I can't record any audio with a super dry mouth. I mean, right now my mouth is pretty decently dry. So imagine without being able to drink water or eat or anything. So I have to flip my whole schedule where I have to be up at night, and then I'll be recording podcasts like, as I'm able to eat and drink. So that's going to go on for a whole month. So I'm probably going to switch everything around maybe March or April. So it's not going to happen immediately, but I'm just throwing that idea to you guys. Let me know what you guys think about that. With that being said, let's get into the news. There is an update where one of the 6ix9ine robbers has, because he had that whole home invasion. One of them has gotten arrested. So this is the second one. So let's go over this. A second suspect has been arrested in connection with the break-in 6ix9ine's Florida home in November. Police apprehended Sergio Andrade, it's Mexico, Spanish type of name, 18 years old. On Sunday, charging him with home invasion robbery with a firearm, false imprisonment, and grand theft. He was booked into Palm Beach County Jail on Sunday, according to court documents obtained by CBS 12. He's the second suspect that police have arrested in the case. They booked Pedro Rodriguez back in December, charging him with home invasion robbery with a firearm, false imprisonment, and grand theft, as well as possession of marijuana with intent to sell. Police were able to track their movements through cell phone data. No surprise there, but yeah, second person has been arrested. I believe there were 3 people that were involved from the video footage that I remember. Let me see. I might actually end up watching it again, but I'm going to have to probably mute it because it's probably 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's 3 people. One more person on the loose, but I'm sure they're going to get him as well. But that's the update on that. Cameron has finally decided to address why he's suing J. Cole. And this is literally like 4 or 5 days ahead of J. Cole dropping the Fall Off album, which is interesting. So let's go over this article. Cameron explained exactly why he's taking legal action against J. Cole during the latest episode of Talk with Flea. He sued the rapper in October of 2025, claiming that he owes him $500,000 in royalties from Ready 24. Their collaboration on Might Delete Later. He says Cole allegedly backed out of his agreement working on a song for Cameron. So here is the clip of him explaining.
Me and J. Cole are cool, or was cool. This is exactly what happened. Being a man is keeping your word. And I know everybody's busy and everybody has things to do. But if I give you my word 4 or 5 times, I got to do it. So on his first project he did, I did an intro for him. I did the record for him for his intro. I told him I may need a verse whenever I get a project done. He said, cool. He had another project. I did a record in 20 minutes. I knocked that shit, went off about my business. I need a verse. I'm exaggerating, but he's like the shock rain right now. And, you know, the moon got aligned with the stars. And, you know, when I write, I put my all into it. Okay, let's put your all into it then. You know what I'm saying?
Word. Give me that verse.
Called me twice to do something, and I did it. One day you have 48 hours to do it. Then I knocked the other thing out as soon as I came to New York, because you ain't want to send me a record, you want to be in the studio with me. I knocked it out. Cool, you don't give me the record. Then I said, you know what, forget the record. Let's do an interview. Bet I got you. I got a project coming out in June. Let's do it around there. Cool, June is coming. Oh, we pushed the album back. I don't want to just do an interview. All right, cool. Now we're going to do it in October. All right, I'll call you back in October. Yo, what's up? Oh, man, Killer, you say, I tell you October, you call October, huh, nigga? Yeah. Yeah. So now this is when all the beef is going on with Kendrick Lamar. I can't do it now because I don't feel like talking about that right now. I said, look, I'll do the interview. I won't even bring that up. He says, nah, I can't do no interview and not talk about it. All right, well, when can I get the interview? Yo, February, definite. February, I'm dead out. February come. Yo, what's up? Oh, yo, I'm still working. Man.
All right, so I got tagged in this video by Mike. Shout out to him. You know, he's been close friends with me online on social media for a long, long time. He tagged me and was like, I know you'd be pissed if 50 Cent did this to you, right? Well, 50's never done it to me, but there have been artists that are just rappers in general are very, very unprofessional. Like, it has been rare in my case to run into an artist who is a legit professional and tells and keeps their word, like their word of what they're saying. Now, like Cameron said in the clip, hey, life happens, right? There's moments where you just can't control things and you don't make it on time or you have to reschedule. I 100% understand that. I have no issue with that at all, ever. But here's where my issue comes in. There are artists who legitimately I was on the phone with for hours. I had talked to multiple times. And yeah, man, I'll do the interview. Yeah, we'll get it done. Date comes. Oh, I got to reschedule this something. Oh, we'll do it again. Don't worry about it. Date comes on the next date. Nah, we got to reschedule it. Something else. Oh, okay, we'll do it again. This is, and it's the dumbest reasons. It's just like they're not prepared. They're lazy. They're high, drunk, whatever drug they're taking. Very, very unprofessional. It's rare that you run into an artist who, like, legitimately you say, hey, this is when we're doing the interview. This is when it happens. Now, is there sometimes a reschedule? I understand, like I said, 1, maybe even 2, man. Fuck it. 2 times, I get it. But if you're constantly rescheduling, there is an artist who's I'm not going to name who had to reschedule roughly 7 or 8 times to get something to happen. 7 to 8 times. Like, how unprofessional are you? And you can see why some of these artists end up in the positions that they're in because they're not. I just had a video. I'm not even going to say the name of the artist because I can't do it. But I had a video Zoom call. This is an artist that I love. This is somebody who, as a kid, I looked up to. And, like, I'm not going to say anymore, but this is an artist who, you know, I've always enjoyed their music. Had a video call with them for the first time ever in my life. I was excited. There had been an opportunity presented. Hops on the video call, high. Face is like halfway on the camera. Very half-assed. Just like, was like, hey, cool, Quake, I fuck with you, diverse mentality. That's it. Like, it was just very half-assed. We didn't even get a chance to talk about the proper business that we wanted to talk about. And the person that manages him or introduced him was like, yeah, man, he's just one of these artists where it's like, I tell him, like, take this serious, blah, blah, blah. And he just doesn't listen. And he's like, I feel bad at times because, like, I present people like you guys, like me, people that can put him in a better position, that can build things for him. And he just doesn't take it serious. And it's like, because he's like, these artists, they're cocky. They need to be humbled. They still think they're popping from 2002 or whatever the year may be that they were popping, right? So I've run into a lot of that. And then I've run into a lot of good cases as well. Chameleonaire is somebody that obviously you can tell, very professional. Did business with him. When the date came for the call, got on the call. Hey, took care of business first. And then he was such a cool person that we chatted about hip hop for roughly, it could have been a podcast, legitimately. We chatted for about an hour and 30 minutes just about hip hop. I was like, this is so fucking cool. I get to talk to Chameleonaire, somebody who I really love as an artist. I got a chance to talk with him about hip hop and just what his, like, it was the greatest thing ever. That's why I pray, and I know one day it'll happen. I get to interview him because it was just such a good conversation. So professional. But that's why Chameleonaire is in a position where he's at, where he sells an app for $400 million. And then you got these other guys who can barely do $5,000 shows now. Because a lot of them are very, and I'm not saying that about J. Cole. I don't know what happened. By the way, I'm not like tying it to J. Cole, but this story that Cameron is telling resonates with me a lot because this is the same story. I'm glad. I'm not glad that this happened to Cameron, but I'm just glad that even someone like a Cameron faces this. Because sometimes I think it's just me because I don't have that huge industry pull. I'm not this huge, insane platform where I have all these connections. Like sometimes I think that's the reason why I get treated like this. But then I see Cameron talking about this with J. Cole. It's like, okay, so this happens across the board, no matter who you are. I say all that to say, this is one of the reasons why I never really cared to get into artist interviews like that. Because I could have pursued it a long time ago, and I did. But I was having pretty good success. I mean, I interviewed K-Camp, Fetty Wap, Kid Ink, quite a few artists before I even had the YouTube platform. So I was just off the hip-hop website, I was getting some cool interviews. And I just realized, like, man, these guys are very unprofessional. I never wanted to deal with it. That's why I built Diverse Mentality solely off of just being me. Like, that's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to rely on any type of artist interviews. Now I'm doing them just for the fun of it, but I don't care if right now, if the last interview I did, which was the last interview I did? What was the last interview I did? It might have been DT and Young Buck. Yeah, those two was the last time I actually interviewed somebody, which was a while ago, actually. If that was the last interview I ever did as an artist interview, I'd be like, fuck it. It is what it is. Now, obviously, I have a bucket list of people I'd love to interview, but I wouldn't it wouldn't be the end of me where I'd be like, oh, I failed. No, like I legitimately set out to not do artist interviews because of how unprofessional these guys are. Like, man, it's unprofessional. Kid Kid's somebody who showed up on time perfect. That's another artist I can give my word to and say, hey, professional. There's just been other artists who are just not professional, rescheduled all the time. And I get it. Sometimes life happens, so I'm not like completely putting the blame on them, but it's just, and the managers, I feel bad for the managers because they themselves are like, man, I tell them, but there's only so much you can tell another grown man before they'll listen to you. Some of these artists listen to their managers and listen to what they're trying to do for them. They would make so much more money. They would be so much bigger stars. They're just either lazy, unprofessional, always high or drunk, incompetent, sometimes you wonder, like, how the fuck did you get in the position that you're at, that you even made a couple $1 million? Because it's like you just got lucky. Because functioning like this, you would have been like nowhere in life. But some of these artists just were lucky in certain positions. They have that, like, and I was talking with my friend about this. The talent that's going to be in the future is not you being special in one area. It's going to be you knowing good amount of information about every topic, like being a hybrid where you can, adapt to different things. Back then it was like being a specialist in one thing made you like really, really good. Now it's being able to maneuver and be a hybrid on all topics and all different things. I say that to say these artists were only really good at just being an artist, making music and recording. But these ones that fail and don't have a long career, they never were a hybrid and becoming, a marketing or a promoter or, like being more into the business side and being more involved in different things. That's why you see the Jay-Z's, the 50s, the Nas's, these guys that have gone to this level, they're a hybrid. They know how to maneuver. They know how to do other things. They keep it professional. And that's where they're at with that. But yeah, that's my take on this all. Hope they give you a little like behind the scenes insight, because trust me, man, if you guys ever got into this field and you guys try to interview artists, you're going to want to cut your head off at a certain point, because it's dealing with like little kids. You're dealing with little kids who have a lot of money and a lot of fame, or at least had that and think they still have that. They think they're still in that time frame of when they were famous. So they still act like, I'm this big star when they're not. They can barely do a show for $5,000. And I know because I've actually been on the behind end of some of these things, and they're barely getting $5,000 a show if they're lucky, maybe $2,000. Which, when you look at it, not bad, man. Hey, if you're as an artist, you're making $2,000 a week. That's $8,000 a month. That's more than the average American that's working. But you got to think they have a whole business. They got people that they got to pay. It's not like they're pocketing $2,000. If you're making $2,000 a week, or let's just say you make $5,000 a week, that's not bad, man. $5,000 a week, that's $20,000 a month. That's pretty good money. Shit, that's very good money, actually. You're making what? 816. You're making $250,000 a year. Shit, that's for just making music, and performing it. Hey, that's good money, man. You're making well above the average income. You're in like the top 8% of earners. Good to go. But the problem is a lot of that costs money too. It's not just like, hey, they have a team of people, so they're probably, let's just say if they make $20,000 that month, they're probably pocketing $5,000 out of $20,000 and paying a bunch of people, or maybe at best $10,000, and half of it's going to other people. And that's the thing too. A lot of these artists are not aware of where, that's why I say these past couple of months, I've been very busy working behind the scenes because I've worked with some, I'm not going to say too much because I don't want to expose it too much, but I've just noticed that a lot of these artists, they don't know that they're missing out on all kinds of money, man. They're just they have no idea. No idea. They could be bringing in another six figures here, another six figures there. No idea. And there's actually a huge artist whose name I'm not going to mention, huge, who is getting finessed behind the scenes in the website world. Getting finessed. And he has no idea about it. Which whenever I talk to him, I'm going to make it clear that you are getting finessed. And we found out about this through other means, but regardless, just know I know my shit. I know my, my story, my history and all that stuff. I know how to, get shit moving and cracking. But I say all that to say, yeah, these guys are not really on top of their thing. And I understand to a certain extent, it is very hard to keep up with how much money you're making. Let's just say, you're at the level of Eminem or Kanye West or Nas, or like I mentioned, Jay-Z 50. Let's say you're at the level of those guys. They're bringing in so much money that there is going to be somebody pocketing and stealing something, and you're not really going to notice it. If somebody, let's say you're bringing in $10 million a month, which these guys are easily bringing. That's not even a, a number that's out there. Let's say they're bringing in $10 million a month. You will find somebody finessing you out of $100,000 every month. But what is that? 9,900,000. So you won't really, will that really affect you? Will you really notice that like that? Nah, not really. So I don't really blame them, but and I know as you scale, it's harder to keep track of things, but yeah, man, that's where a good team comes in. That's where, trustworthy people, but hey, most people actually, sadly, about 70 to 80% of people are not trustworthy if they're put in a position to, manage things for rich people. They're probably going to pocket some money for themselves. That's why it's good to feed your people well, but even if you do, they'll still find ways to ask for more because they feel like they're entitled to more. But yeah, that's just the game. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about that, and we'll see what happens with this Cameron lawsuit. And we'll see actually if J. Cole addresses it in the album. Lil Wayne, man, oh, how he has fell from grace after all these years and how really delusional he is. Let's just be honest here. He's been delusional for a while. I don't know if it's all the drugs catching up to him through all those years or if he's still doing drugs. I have no idea. But he has decided to voice his opinion on the Grammys. So he decided to tweet out this. Congrats to the nominees and winners. Wasn't included, as usual. I got to work harder, as usual. One time for my slime, Bill Belly. So, clear as day, he's upset that he wasn't included as a nominee. He said, I got to work harder as usual. So this is coming off the heels of him being upset, not being at the Super Bowl halftime show to perform because Kendrick got that. And now he's upset that he's not nominated or won anything at the Grammys or even being nominated. It's clear as day as why. There's probably two reasons. One, the Carter 6 was just a horrible album, and that's fine. And here's why that's fine. Lil Wayne has already proved himself. He had his run. At the end of the day, man, he's allowed to have bad albums at this late stage in his career. He's been making music since he was like 12 years old. He's given us an insane amount of classic songs, and even you can argue to a certain extent classic albums. But he's so far gone, he still thinks he's in that moment in his career, and he's not. People don't look at him like that anymore. Does he have a cool verse here and there? Yes, it's Lil Wayne. Of course he's going to potentially have that here and there, obviously. It's not like he just lost his skills. It's just he's out of touch. He's no longer relevant when it comes to the music he's making, and that's totally fine, man. He can make whatever kind of music he wants. If he wants elephant sounds and, I don't know, all kinds of sounds in the background of his music, I don't know, turtles farting, I don't know, whatever you want in the background of your music, hey, that's fine, bro. Do your thing. But the album was bad. It was just a bad album. People didn't care. You're not going to get nominated for a bad album like that. Nobody talked about it after it came out. It was a horrible installment to the series. And there you go. Just please don't drop any more Carter albums. There's a reason why Birdman didn't want Lil Wayne dropping the Carter 5. Carter 5 wasn't that good of an album either. It had better tracks than the Carter 6, but each installment has gotten worse and worse. It peaked at Carter 2 to Carter 3, maybe even Carter 4. Like, those were like Lil Wayne's prime years. And, you know, I've seen people argue Carter 2 is the best out of the whole series. I've seen people argue Carter 3. I've seen people argue Carter 4. For me, it's give or take Carter 4 or Carter 2. Carter 3, I'm kind of like, it's all right. It's got its good, you know, peaks and valleys. But to me, that album is all right. I think Carter 2 or Carter 4 is better, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. The second thing is Lil Wayne, and I've heard this from a lot of people that have known Lil Wayne. He is a spoiled brat. I mean, Kid said it on my own podcast when I interviewed him. He is a spoiled brat. So when Lil Wayne doesn't get the recognition or doesn't get the nominations, he's going to act like a spoiled brat. I'll never forget, man. I went to interview Hot Rod, went into the recording studio where, you know, we did the interview, and Lil Wayne recorded the Carter 3 there. This is before the Carter 3 came out, obviously, because he's recording that album. So obviously, Lil Wayne before the Carter 3 and Lil Wayne after the Carter 3 are two different Lil Waynes. And the person that owns that studio, it wasn't the actual owner of the studio, but it was one of the workers there who's worked there for like 20 plus 25 years, whatever. I don't know, a long time. He said he saw the shift with Lil Wayne after the Carter 3. He turned into a complete brat, you know, was complaining about water, was complaining, just all kinds of stuff, like the smallest little things he was complaining about. And by the way, when I went in that studio, bro, I got like perfect treatment. They were like, hey, what do you want, sir? Anything to make you comfortable. I didn't have some lights that I needed. They're like, we'll get you those lights, no problem. Granted, it's pretty expensive. I think I spent like $100 per hour, and we stayed there for like 5-6 hours, so that's $500 to $600. It might have been more, actually, $120 an hour. I don't really remember, but it was expensive to be there. So for me, that's expensive shit. Spending an hour, $100 every hour, damn, bro. You know, you're getting pretty much, you know, for Lil Wayne, that's nothing. But yeah, Wayne, after they said the Carter 3, he recorded parts of the Carter. No, they said that he didn't record the Carter 4 there. He recorded Carter 5 thereafter. And they said when they saw him, just turned into a complete brat. You know, whenever he's in Arizona, he was always going there to that studio. So they just said he completely changed. Not to say that he wasn't brat before. They said, yeah, he was, you know, he had the little star. But when he turned into a superstar, he turned into this brat where he just felt like everything was entitled to him. And that's where I get from these type of tweets with the Super Bowl, with this, like, you know, he's like, I got to work harder as usual. No, but it's not about you working harder. It's about the music being good. That's all we give a shit about. And you've gone past your prime. You've had your moment in your career. You won Grammys. At least you fucking won a Grammy when you were at your peak. A lot of artists didn't. So, you know, you can't, at least don't complain about that. You know, at least you fucking won Grammys at your peak. Other artists didn't at all. 50 Cent, DMX, Snoop Dogg. But you see what I'm saying? Like, he still finds ways to complain about things. But it is what it is, man. You didn't release a great album. Nobody cared. The album came and went. It was criticized heavily. And I didn't criticize it because, hey, man, he's past his prime. He's done all he's had to do in his career. He doesn't have to prove anything to anybody. He can just release the music that he wants to release. And it's fine. I have no issue with it. You know, I'm not here to criticize old artists dropping music. I'm just happy they're making music and they're doing what they love to do still. I don't sit there and analyze every Nas album that comes out or every Lloyd Banks album and say, oh, this should have been, it needs to be as good as 2004. Like, no, that's 20, 25. Nas is like 30, 35 years ago. Illmatic came out in what, 94? What are we talking about here? It's 30 plus years ago. I'm not going to compare that to what Nas is right now. It's stupid, you know, but there's people out there that actually do that. So yeah, Lil Wayne, I'm not going to compare. Now, granted, the Carter is in a series, so you kind of got to compare the series, but I still didn't. I was like, let him do the music he wants to do. Let him have fun, man. He's at that stage in his career where he's just doing whatever he wants to do for fun. He doesn't need the money. He doesn't need the record sales. He's good doing his thing. With that being said, Wayne, just drop better music, man. Nobody's saying to be consistent. Somebody's saying just drop better music. The next album needs to be better curated, and just, I don't think it will be, because I think people are just kind of tired of Wayne. I think his voice has also gotten worse as the years gone on. But maybe he could do some not auto-tune, but AI, and get his voice back to the prime. I would encourage a lot of artists to do that, because a lot of artists' voices just aren't what they used to be. One of the few artist voices who's still consistent throughout all these years is Young Buck. He still sounds like the old Young Buck. But a lot of artists, probably 95%, don't sound like they used to sound at all. And that's not usually a good thing. But yeah, that's my take on it. And Wayne, just drop better music. Updates on 50 Cent's lawsuit towards his baby mama or ex or whatever you want to call her. This lawsuit is started in summer of 2025, but let's go over it. 50 Cent has taken his fair share of folks to court through his career, and it doesn't look like he plans to stop anytime soon. Currently, he's wrapped up in a legal battle with one of his exes, Shaniqua Tompkins, which is his first baby mother. Last July, he hit her with a lawsuit. In it, he alleges that she violated a contract she signed with publishing imprint G-Unit Books. Reportedly, she sold G-Unit Books the rights to her life story back in 2007. This includes her name, likeness, experiences, and more. She was given $80,000 and promised future royalties in exchange. Allegedly, however, Tompkins went on to discuss her past relationship with Fifth in various interviews. Capitalizing on a recent notoriety from the viral post commenting on testimony in high-profile Diddy trial, Tompkins has repeatedly and deliberately exploited the very rights she conveyed to G-Unit Books, his legal team alleges in the lawsuit. Tompkins' behavior was intentional. She explicitly referenced the very agreement she breached while she actively breached it, stating it was something that was going to have to be worked out legally. Tompkins didn't respond to the lawsuit by September deadline, prompting Fifth's team to seek a default judgment. Now, however, she alleges that she was forced into signing the contract. Allegedly, 50 Cent's former manager, Chris Lighty, tracked her down and threatened her. During this encounter, Mr. Lighty told me I would suffer severe consequences if I did not sign the agreement, she alleged late last month. 50 isn't letting this go that easily, though. He's asking the court to deny her request for more time. Tompkins does not dispute G-Unit Books' central allegation that her conduct breached the parties' life rights agreement, his attorneys insist. Instead, she contends that the contract is unenforceable, relying on decades-old misconduct allegations supported only by her own self-serving statements. You know what's interesting is she said back a while ago that 50 actually was the one that forced her to sign this, and now she's saying Chris Lighty did it. She said that 50 put her hands on her and forced her to sign it. He basically put his foot on her neck or something like that. And now she's changing the story that Chris Lighty, somebody who's dead and can't say anything about this, is the one that forced her to do this. So, with her, unfortunately, she is somebody who has been a victim of her own greed. If you guys can't recall, 50 said, because you were my first baby mother, because you believed in me before, any other woman did, I will pay you. By the way, he said this for the rest, and she said it herself, for the rest, she said exactly this is what happened as well. It wasn't just 50 that said this, so she said it herself. He said, I will pay you for the rest of your life $40,000 a month. You don't have to go to child support. You don't have to do any of that. Because you were my first baby mother, because you were there for me before I blew up, I will take care of you for the rest of your life. $40,000 a month, you're good. Never have to worry about bills. $40,000 a month, you can live off, no problem. Anybody right now would love to take that. Instead, she felt that wasn't enough. She got greedy and took 50 to child support. So she said, listen, you're underpaying me. I know you make more money, so the courts are going to say you pay me even more. She goes to court. It's $8,700 a month. Got reduced. It didn't get reduced. It's just that's what the child support was. So 50, instead of paying out of his pocket $40,000, he's like, all right, you took me to child support. They're saying $8,700, and now you just got finessed. And now 50 is only paying until the baby's 18 or 21, or whatever the age is, when you're done paying child support. And that's it. So out of her own greed, she finessed herself out of less money, and now she probably wanted that $80K at the time and just signed away her life rights. She got that $80,000. She's like, I need that $80,000. Because she was probably just blowing money, dumb things, and never working. Like you can't rely on 50's income for the rest of your life. You're a grown-ass woman. Like, yeah, 50's rich, but he doesn't owe you $40,000 for the rest of your life. He did that just out of being a good person and saying, hey, you were there before everything, happened for me. So you're good for the rest of your life. But she got greedy and she took him to child support. And child support said, yo, you are overpaying. This is crazy. So I don't really believe what she has to say. It's very, very just money hungry. Doesn't have very much validity to it unless she has proof. Obviously, if she has proof, then there's no denying that. I've always said that with everybody that's involved in any of these type of things. There's solid proof, no denying it. But we'll see what happens moving forward. 50 Cent is continuing to roast Floyd Mayweather, and for good reason, because a lot of what 50 said in the past is coming to light, and you'll see a pattern as the years go on that a lot of what 50 said in the past is true. I mean, it came true with Game about how bipolar he is and how he turns on people and is not loyal. Well, look at Game now. He's shitted on Dr. Dre, 50, Eminem, whoever you can think of, and has been pretty much blackballed through the industry. But 50, with Floyd Mayweather, made a point a long time ago about how Floyd isn't good with his money. And now Floyd is suing Showtime. So let's go over this. 50 Cent poked fun at a longtime rival, Floyd Mayweather Jr. on Instagram on Tuesday, sharing a report from TMZ revealing that the legendary boxer has filed a lawsuit against Showtime. In the caption, 50 labeled Mayweather a dumbass and joked about his reading comprehension skills. So first, let's go over the article that TMZ reported of Floyd Mayweather suing and what exactly he's suing, about, because what could possibly go wrong, right? Floyd Mayweather, multi-millionaire, quadrillionaire, billionaire is what he, preaches. So what could possibly go wrong with Floyd Mayweather? What is going on? Let's see here. So TMZ reports Floyd Mayweather says he has made over $1 billion in earnings over his legendary career, but the 50-0 fighter claims all the money didn't make it to his bank account, and now he's suing Showtime, claiming they played a big role in his ex-manager screwing him out of hundreds of millions of dollars. In the lawsuit filed by Floyd in California and obtained by TMZ Sports, Mayweather says he's gunning to recover hundreds of millions of dollars in misappropriated funds and damages resulting from a long-running and elaborate scheme of financial fraud, allegedly perpetrated by his longtime advisor, Al Heyman, and now he's claiming Heyman got substantial participation and aid from Showtime and former Showtime Sports president, Stephen Espinoza. Showtime and Espinoza are listed as defendants while Heyman is not being sued. Floyd claims Heyman, with whom he worked for over a decade, misappropriated a significant portion of his career earnings to the tune of a whopping $340 million, and he says he did so with the help of Showtime and SE. Mayweather says the money is still missing and unaccounted for. In the suit, Mayweather references several of his biggest fights, including against Manny Pacquiao and Conor McGregor, alleging Showtime and Espinoza effectively delivered money owed to Floyd directly into Heyman's hands by sending accounts essentially controlled by Heyman. Years later, after the undefeated boxer switched managers to his new team, asked to see Showtime's books, which Floyd claims the network told him were lost in a flood or weren't accessible. Mayweather is suing Showtime and Espinoza for aiding and abetting breach of fiduciary duty, civil conspiracy to commit fraud, conversion, and unjust enrichment. In addition to the $340 million, Mayweather is also seeking punitive damages. Reached for comment, Mayweather's attorney, Bobby Samini, predicted victory, saying Floyd is one of the boxing's biggest pay-per-view draws. He generated hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue for Showtime. Mr. Mayweather now takes this fight to the courtroom to recover what he rightfully earned. Retiring undefeated at 50-0, Mr. Mayweather will go the distance in the courtroom just as he has in the ring. That's a pretty cool reference, man, about the courtroom and the ring. Well, 50 caught wind of it and decided to post the TMZ article, and he said this in the caption: "Oh no, don't cry now, champ. They beat you out of $320 million, you dumb ass N-word. I told you, let me read the contracts. Now lace up. You got to look good fighting Mike Tyson. Then maybe we can get Bud to beat your ass for some big money." Well, it looks like 50 Cent's right, man. After all these years, the fallout with 50 and Floyd Mayweather is 50. When Floyd Mayweather got locked up for domestic violence charges, he served, I believe, 6 months. 50 said, like Floyd and 50, this one, at least from 50's point of view of what 50 says, he said that he talked to Floyd and he wanted to create a boxing promotions company with Floyd because 50's a passionate fan of boxing. He used to box when he was younger. So he had the conversation with Floyd. Floyd gave him his blessing and said, yes, let's create this boxing promotion company. And then when I get out, we can run it together. So 50 invested in SMS Promotions. Well, initially started as the Money Team Promotions. And then when Floyd got out, 50 was like, hey, I put my money into this. I started it, developed LLC, did all this stuff, built the structure and all that. And now you just got to put in your money or pay me back the money that I put in, and we can, run it like that. Somewhere along the lines of that. I don't know the exact details of the money, but I know 50 put in some money, or maybe he put in all the money and then he, would ask Floyd to pay that portion of his portion back, when he got out, right? So that happened, but Floyd was like, listen, I never asked you to do that, and I want nothing to do with this. So that forced 50 to start SMS promotions, which he never wanted to do flat out. So remember that little run where he had SMS promotions? That was like 3 to 4 years or whatever. He said he never wanted to initially do it by himself. He wanted Floyd Mayweather involved, but that's how that happened. That's how that friendship basically crumbled. I mean, they started becoming friends a little bit here and there, but overall, they were never cool again like they once were. 50 said it's because Floyd never looked at paperwork, never cared about money. He was always going flat broke. That's why he always took these fights. And Floyd flaunts all this money and blah, blah, blah. Now, there was an article, like a long article, I forget by which news place, but they basically broke down that Floyd is essentially like in massive debt because he invested in these buildings in New York and thought that it would pay off and that it would bring in a lot of money, and it didn't. Because Floyd was eventually on interviews, he was flaunting that he invested like $500 million in these New York, prime real estate places. They're saying that was like borrowed. He didn't have all that money and it's not doing well. And then, he's going to be forced to sell off his houses, which, I think all of his houses are probably accumulating to like 50 million. So it's not like he's broke, right? Like broke, but he's not as rich as he portrays himself, right? And 50's always said that throughout the years. He said, this guy just isn't good with money. The second he gets a check, he just blows it and just does whatever he wants to do with it because another fight's going to come. He's going to get another, whatever, 100 million, 50 million, 150 million, whatever. So 50's saying in this as well, he's saying, listen, I tried to help this guy look over his contracts and make sure everything was good, but I don't think he even checked, or didn't really care. Now, to give Floyd credit, I will say that he did, he became his own promotion company, which no boxer was doing at the time because he saw how Mike Tyson got, cooked by that one guy, man, I forget his name. Got cooked by him, and all these other boxers basically got destroyed by these promoters who just stole their money. Well, it looks like Floyd got his money stolen, but not by a promoter, by one of the Showtime owners and, managers and promoters of Showtime, which is crazy. That's like a different level of robbery is what Floyd is accusing, obviously, Showtime allegedly of doing. So it's an interesting case overall that Floyd got kind of cooked in this situation, and I don't know if he's telling the truth or maybe he's just out of money and looking to try to seek ways to get money from different places because the investments he made aren't going that good. I don't know. But 50 is saying it's probably because the investments he's got aren't going that good, and he's just out here trying to scratch for. Because come on, bro, you're boxing Mike Tyson. You guys are both past your prime. Mike Tyson's like 60 something years old. Like clearly, if you're boxing Mike Tyson, it's a money grab. That's all it is. It's not like for any other reason. Like you should be completely retired out of boxing. Yeah, you can do these little boxing fights and make your little quick 20, 30 million, but it's like, why would you need to do that? You should be in a whole different field, investing and making money in different, like the New York buildings that you're talking about. So overall, we'll see what happens with this. I think Floyd is in some type of money trouble because it seems like he's the type of person that just blows money. I mean, you see that guy with money and new stuff every single day, and he always talks about his wealth everywhere. So that's his whole image. If he doesn't have that, it's like, what is Floyd Mayweather? He doesn't really have an identity without the money. His whole personality is money. The guy's, bending backwards for any type of money that he can get. So we'll see what happens moving forward, but nonetheless, it is getting interesting. 21 Savage is allegedly boosting his album, which is no surprise. He got stripped out of 25 million Spotify streams. That is crazy. So let's go over this article. Spotify allegedly removed 25 million streams from songs by 21 Savage on Sunday, according to a new report by Carucho. The move comes amid rumors about bots allegedly boosting the numbers for the rapper's latest album, What Happened to the Streets, although Spotify did not give an explanation. Regardless, fans have been running around with wild jokes about 21 Savage on bots and social media. Of course, J. Cole lyrics talking about bots, and he was featured on the song a lot. Ironically, J. Cole was talking about bots. But 21 Savage messaged DJ Academics apparently, and he says, yo, this shit is cap, bro. Why the fuck would I bought 25 million? LOL. He says, I would just bought 100 million if I was going to do that shit, which is exactly what a botter would say. Look, guys, why would I only do this number when I can do way more? I'm just joking, but I don't know, man. That's what I'm saying. With this streaming stuff, it could be bots. It could be, who knows, man. At least with physical CDs, yes. Was there some manipulation here and there? Of course. but it wasn't as clear as day as this, you know? So I don't know, man. The album came and went for me. I haven't listened to it since it got released. It's really an album that just didn't really make an impact. Even the Drake feature didn't really make an impact. People didn't really care. Yeah, that's it with that. And what's funny is Jimmy Iovine did an interview and basically said streaming is not a good model for businesses. So let's play this clip.
License is out. It's so, I mean, you could prove it, because if you look at those deals are reflective of the iTunes download market, 70-30. That was the same business as the download market. So they just copied that, which is not a great bit model for that. Why? Because you have not enough money in the streaming service in order for it to really live. So they got to now go out and find different versions of revenue, right? And they pay 70% or whatever it is now, 72%, 70-60. I don't know what the negotiations have been since then. And structured in a really odd way, because let's say, for example, you're married, you have 2 kids, and you have a family plan. And you and your wife play The Clash, The Police, etc. But your kids play Drake and Kendrick Lamar all day. Most of the money from your house goes to Drake and Kendrick Lamar. What you're hearing about is that the artists are like, they used to be able to earn a living like that. But now, unless you're in that top chunk of heavy streaming, the money's not really meaningful. So that's a problem they have to fix. You know, there's no question about that. But there's a lot wrong with streaming, in my opinion. You know, it's one-dimensional. It's an ATM machine. You put your money in, you get your music. They don't do anything for the artist. See, the artists want to communicate with their fans, period. That's what they want. They want to communicate. They want to market themselves. And the streaming services are still saying, we'll put you on our list if you're nice to us or if you like us. That's bullshit. You got to allow them to have your audience and let them breathe, which is what, you know, not for philanthropic reasons, but this is what TikTok does. That's what Instagram does. You could somewhat promote yourself. So the streaming services, to me, are minutes away from being obsolete because of that. You can't rub against the artist like that. You just can't. You got to give them what they want. They're driving this ship. I learned that in 1973. I came from Red Hook, Brooklyn. My dad was a longshoreman. I walked in the studio with John Lennon. I did 3 albums with him, and I got my own apartment. I realized, okay, the rest of my life, I'm going to try to meet, maybe not John Lennon, but people that can do this and with real talent. And my life is going to be okay. All I got to do is not get thrown out of the fucking room.
This is something that's not really surprising, right? This is in every industry. And we can even apply it to YouTube with what I do, right? There are artists, there are YouTubers that make a living off YouTube. Like me, I make a living off YouTube. And then there are YouTubers that are really, really rich, multimillionaires that make, you know, Mr. Beast is a billionaire, which is crazy. That's a guy who started off YouTube, right? So there are always levels to this. And I don't view these streaming platforms as a way for every artist to get rich, because the entry point is a lot easier than it was 20 years ago, right? 20 years ago, you used to have to go to a label, you know people for them to listen to your demo, potentially sign you, then, you know, prop you up and start building you into the, you know, artist that you are. And then you drop your album. And if it does well, you keep going. If it doesn't, you're shelved and nobody ever cares anymore. Today's time is different. No entry point. Literally somebody right now with a $10 mic and a guy who can mix and master, or not even that. Some people just drop music. They don't even care. Can drop music on Spotify. There's no like entry point. There's no you need electricity. You need a mic. You need a little bit of finesse on Logic Pro. You know, that's really about it. Buy a beat, which is $20, $30. Like, you know, there's really not much an expensive entry point anymore. So there's a huge opportunity for regular artists to live off of their art. Like, for example, you can get a regular job and make $40,000 a year. That's what the average American, let's just say $40,000, $50,000 a year. But if you make music and make 40 to 50,000 a year, you're doing what you love and making a living off of it. You're not super rich. You're not balling and everybody's going to your concerts. Everybody's buying everything you're doing musically, but you're making a living off of it. So that's the way I view it, where the Drakes and the Kendricks, those are rare, like not everybody reaches that status, and that's perfectly fine. If you're making a living off of it, that's, like I think Tech Nine was the one that said it then, or like even Joe Budden recently said, if you can just build a core audience and make a good living's 100,000 a year, you'll be perfectly fine with your music, doing what you love. That's better than having to work a job, making that kind of money or less, not doing what you love. So that's the way I view it. I don't think everybody's going to be rich off it. Never. I don't think it was ever intended for that. But yeah, it's he has kind of a different view of it. I get it. But I still see it as a great, platform, because look, you can put your music on streaming. You start building an audience there. You can then take some of that audience, build your own website, launch merch, do little mini concerts here and there. So you can build a hardcore fan base that will, give you more money through merch, through concerts that they visit, through extra content or extra songs you release through your website. So there's ways for somebody to make a good living off of just having a small core audience and never blowing up to be a superstar like Kendrick or Drake. That's the way I view it. Regardless, I think it's an interesting take, and we'll see, down the line if adjustments get made or something happens, or, 'cause I don't know what happens if streaming is done. What's, like how are artists going to make their money? Musically, they probably won't. There's probably release music and then make money off touring, off of merch, off of all other stuff on the side. So yeah, but interesting take from Jimmy Iovine, the former Interscope CEO. Let's get into the Billboard Hot 100, and Harry Styles is at number 1, debut with Aperture. Number 2, Choosing Texas, Ela Hangley. Number 3, Olivia Dean, Man I Need. Number 4, Hunter Golden. Number 5, The Fate of Ophelia, Taylor Swift. Number 6, I Just Might, Bruno Mars. Number 7, Ordinary, Alex Warren. Number 8, Back to Friends, Somber. Number 9, Folded, Kalani. And number 10, Taylor Swift, Opia Light. Going down the list, Lil Uzi Vert, What You Saying, number 14. WGFT Gunna, number 20. That is a climber, so it's going up and down, but it's been slowly climbing the charts. I wouldn't be surprised if that hits top 10. Chris Brown, It Depends, number 24. It's gone down the charts, but that was climbing up as well. Hell at Night, BX The Plug, 28. ESD Kid, 4 Raws, number 33. Going down, A$AP Rocky, Stay Here for Life, number 40. Going down the list, Cardi B, Airtime, number 48. Pooh Shiesty, FDO, number 49. Pooh Shiesty he isn't really capitalizing on the buzz yet with that record, man. Drop more music. NBA Youngboy, Bruce Wayne, number 57. A$AP Rocky, Helicopter, number 62. Lil Baby, Mr. Trendsetter, number 64. Or Mrs. Trendsetter. Shot Calling, NBA Youngboy, number 67. Take Me Through There, Metro Boomin, number 74. The Baby Pop Dat Thang, number 78, debut. T.I. Let 'Em Know, number 83, debut on the Billboard Hot 100. I read that this is like his first chart on the Hot 100 in like 14 years as a solo artist. That's fucking dope as fuck. So shout out to T.I. He's definitely going to have a run with this last album, especially with cutting his hair and all that. I can't wait for it. Can't wait to check it out. Mr. Rucoup, 21 Savage, and Drake at number 100, re-entry. And Doechii and SZA, Miss That Girl, get up at number 96. So that is it for today's episode of the Diverse Mentality Podcast. As always, appreciate you guys. Spotify, Deezer, Podcast, all that. Have an amazing night, day, whenever you listen to us, and peace.